security in supply for the consumer.
Alex Stone, ABC News.
Stellantis announcing it will pause production at its factories in Canada and Mexico starting next week. Thousands of workers impacted, including 900 U.S. represented employees. The top watchdog at the Defense Department says he'll look into the use of the non-government messaging app to share details of a military operation.
The White House press secretary has said the case is closed, but the Pentagon's acting inspector general says at the request of Congress, his office will investigate the use of the Signal app to share details of last month's strike on Houthi targets in Yemen. Watchdog Stephen Stebbins says his review will determine whether Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth and other top defense officials complied with Pentagon policies and procedures in the use of a commercial messaging application for official business.
ABC's Stephen Portnoy. At least 5 people died in volatile storms that swept across the nation's midsection last night. 4 of those deaths in Tennessee. You're listening to ABC News.
This statement has not been evaluated by the FDA. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.
I was always tired, with weekly bouts of indigestion. A friend asked me, when was the last time you did a detox? Never, I said. So she recommended Active Liver.
Our liver works hard every day to remove toxins from processed foods and unclean air and water. But too many toxins can overwhelm the liver, causing it to actually store toxins in our body fat. Low energy, brain fog, headaches, bloating, and skin irritation are all telltale signs that we need to act. Water or juice fasts can help, but often require days or weeks of feeling tired and sick. Thankfully, there's an easier way. Active Liver from New Nordic is a natural supplement that helps your liver effectively eliminate toxins on a daily basis, leaving you feeling better with more energy and less bloating.
Within a week of taking Active Liver, I was feeling better, and now I have more energy than I've had in years.
Available in both tablet or delicious gummies, you can find Active Liver online at Amazon or NewNordicUSA.com or in stores at your local CVS or Meijer grocery.
New details emerging that Elon Musk's role in the Trump administration may be coming to a close. Here's ABC's Mary Bruce.
Sources tell ABC News Elon Musk's days as President Trump's right-hand man could soon be coming to an end. As a, quote, special government employee, Musk's appointment was only supposed to last 130 days, but there had been hints that Trump might want to keep him on longer.
The president recently signaled Musk wanted to return to running his companies. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu welcomed by Hungary's leader today in Budapest, defying an international court order for his arrest over alleged crimes in Gaza. Hungary's Prime Minister Viktor Orban announced his government will pull out of the ICC. Israelis demonstrating in Tel Aviv outside Netanyahu's headquarters today, protesting against Israel's latest military operations in Gaza since the collapse of the ceasefire with Hamas. Family members of hostages demanding a deal to secure the return of the 59 hostages still held by Hamas in Gaza. Israeli airstrikes killed at least 100 Palestinians across the Gaza Strip Thursday. Researchers tracking cases of dementia say they've found the strongest evidence yet that the shingles vaccine could reduce your risk. They studied health records of 280,000 older adults and found over 7 years, those who had been vaccinated were 20% less likely to be diagnosed with dementia than those not vaccinated. Still, researchers say more studies are needed. Michelle Franzen, ABC News.
He's coming. Here he goes.
Surprise! Your table saw broke. Also, the warranty expired weeks ago, so you need to pay for a new one out of pocket.
At Progressive, we know small business owners don't usually like surprises because they cost you money. But a good surprise that could save you money? Getting a commercial auto quote from Progressive.
Oh, and the replacement part you ordered doesn't fit, so it's completely useless.
What a waste.
Surprise yourself. See if you can save in as little as 7 minutes at ProgressiveCommercial.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates.
This is the Newsradio KONP Noon Report.
Tom Ortlot for the KONP News Center. Here's a look at what's happening on this Thursday afternoon, April 3rd. Port Angeles resident Mark Hodgson announcing his candidacy for the Port Angeles City Council yesterday. Hodgson will seek to replace Lindsay Schroman Warren, who will not be seeking re-election in November for his position number 3, which is one of 4 positions on the council up for election this year. Hodgson is a U.S. Navy veteran employed by the Washington State Patrol and currently serves on the boards of Habitat for Humanity and the Peninsula Dispute Resolution Center. He also has a seat on the City of Port Angeles Parks Commission and in November was elected to the Clallam County Charter Review Commission. Hodgson's a father of 2 and was raised in Port Angeles, says he's proud to have raised his children here on the Olympic Peninsula. If elected to the city council, he lists as priorities ensuring public safety is supported, affordable housing policies are prioritized, and economic development is at the forefront of strategic planning. A Port Angeles man in custody after speeding away from officers, tearing through the streets of Port Angeles, and finally being stopped with a pit maneuver. About 6:40 yesterday morning, a PAPD officer observed a pickup truck driving erratically on Highway 101 on the west side of town. A traffic stop was attempted, but the driver failed to yield and sped away. Police Chief Brian Smith tells KONP that on Lordson Boulevard and near Ray Street, one of his officers was able to successfully stop that suspect thanks to the benefit of some skilled training.
Near Ray Street, they had an opportunity to perform what we call a pit maneuver, where the police car's fender touches the rear fender of the suspect vehicle and it puts it into a spin. Well, that maneuver was successful and the suspect's vehicle came to a stop. He fled through the public housing project, and another officer that was responding spotted him and was able to stop him. And so that was the end of the pursuit.
After being transported to Olympic Medical Center for complaints of shortness of breath, a search warrant was obtained for a DUI blood draw. Soon after, 27-year-old Kenneth Lee Brown was booked and is being held on charges that include felony eluding of police, DUI drugs, possession of a stolen vehicle, and 2 outstanding arrest warrants, including 1 for theft. More news after this.
Hey there, Dawn Riling with Olympic Hot Tub. Play, swim, and enjoy low-impact workouts all year long in an endless pool swim spa from Olympic. During our Splash into Spring event, save up to $9,000 on Endless Pools packages and get a free gift bundle including a Bluetooth sound system valued up to $3,200. Ends April 13th. More at olympichottub.com. Better you, better life.
Olympic Hot Tub.
Clallam PUD is now offering rebates on the purchase of Energy Star washers and dryers. Energy Star certified appliances save energy and money as they meet strict energy efficiency specifications. The rebates will be applied as a credit to your utility bill. Visit clallampud.net for more information or to submit an application. You will need to provide your purchase receipt. Clallam PUD, bringing energy to life.
If it's time for new asphalt paving for your dirt, gravel, or damaged driveway, now's the time to call Lakeside Industries for a free estimate. They've been serving this community since 1982 with city, county, and highway projects, of course. But did you know that they do residential and commercial grading, paving, and stormwater too? Well, they're scheduling spring and summer jobs right now, and no job is too small. Just call Lakeside Industries, 452-7803, or lakesideindustries.com.
In other news, with the legislative session nearing its end, Washington state lawmakers must reconcile some major differences in the House and Senate budget proposals, especially on public school funding. The Senate's $78.5 billion plan allocates $34.3 billion, or about 44% of general funds dollars, to schools. The House's $77.8 billion proposal sets aside about $33 billion, or 43%. Both fall short of the peak funding share in 2019. A key divide, special education. The Senate proposes a $1 billion increase, while the House offers a $188 million increase. The House also seeks to boost funding for poverty poor districts, but ties it to proposed property tax cap increases that have not passed. Both budgets cut millions in grant-funded education programs and delay spending by shifting monthly school payments into the next budget cycle. And teacher pay is set to increase under both plans, as well as bonuses for national board-certified teachers remain intact despite earlier proposals to pause them. Lawmakers have to finalize the deal by April 27th. Meantime, lawmakers in the State House yesterday okayed a bipartisan transportation budget for the coming biennium. Dan Frizzell has a look.
With the legislature set to adjourn for the year in just over 3 weeks, lawmakers are in budget mode. Wednesday afternoon, the House debated and passed its proposed transportation budget, a $15 billion spending plan that focuses on upkeep of existing infrastructure, expanding and improving the ferry system, continued removal of salmon-killing stream barriers, and key projects designed to enhance safety on Washington roads and highways. Even with that price tag, Democrats and Republicans alike described the budget and the revenue required as conservative and fiscally prudent. Representative Jake Fye of Tacoma, the Democrat who chairs the transportation panel in the House, acknowledged as much on the House floor.
Across the state of Washington, people depend on a transportation system that works for them. This is a responsible budget. It is a sobering budget. This is a bit of a slowdown. Take note of what's going on in our economy. Take note of what can be done. Without considering more resources, there would not be another contract that could be issued for any transportation project of any size.
The spending plan passed out of the House with a better than 2-to-1 bipartisan margin and now heads to the Senate for final negotiations. In Olympia, Dan Frizzell.
A Washington state bill aimed at curbing social media's impact on children has failed to advance in the House despite bipartisan backing in the Senate. Senate Bill 5708, requested by the Attorney General and supported by the governor, sought to restrict addictive content feeds and also notify alerts to minors during certain hours. It passed the Senate with support from both parties, but did not get a hearing in the House Consumer Protection and Business Committee. Supporters, including the Washington Children's Alliance, called it a common-sense approach to rising youth mental health concerns, but House leaders cited constitutional and privacy concerns with it. Lawmakers say they hope to revisit the issue next session. Federal authorities arrested 37 people yesterday at Mount Baker Roofing in Bellingham, Washington, following a worksite enforcement operation led by U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement. ICE officials said those arrested had submitted fraudulent documents related to their immigration status and employment. The investigation, supported by U.S. Border Patrol and Customs and Border Protection, was focused on unlawful employment and aimed to hold employers accountable while protecting legal workforce opportunities, according to a statement released from ICE after the arrests. Cooler than usual temperatures have delayed the start of the Skagit Valley Tulip Festival, a major spring attraction in the Mount Vernon area. Tulip blooms typically start about April 4th, but a stretch of freezing weather back in February slowed growth, according to Brent Rusin of Rusengard Tulip Farm. Recent mild days have helped trigger some early color in the fields, and more blooms are expected throughout the rest of this month. Rusin said the bloom isn't a single peak, though, but a gradual display thanks to early, mid, and late blooming varieties. And Forbes has released its 2025 list of the world's billionaires, and 12 Washington state residents made the cut, most with ties to tech giants like Amazon, Microsoft, and Valve, as well as some major brands like Starbucks and Zillow. Topping the list locally, former Microsoft CEO Steve Ballmer, worth $118 billion, followed by Microsoft co-founder Bill Gates at $108 billion. Other notable names include Melinda French Gates, Mackenzie Scott, and video game executive Gabe Newell. This is Newsradio KONP.
Your community-minded friends at First Fed bring you the Community Corner, highlighting good things happening right here in our area.
The Port Angeles High School Thespian Society presents Mean Girls the Musical. This award-winning musical took Broadway by storm and now will be presented April 11th, 12th, and 13th at the Port Angeles High School Auditorium. Tickets are $15 for adults, $10 for students and seniors. Parental guidance is recommended. And on Sunday, April 13th, Field Hall invites you to another free Jazz Sunday in the Sunset Lounge. Field Hall welcomes the Connor Forsyth Trio, featuring Sammy Watson on drums and Jonas Myers driving the bass. Pianist Connor Forsyth brings some New Orleans piano heritage to Field Hall's free Jazz Sunday, April 13th. General admission seating is first come, first served, with private premium tables available by RSVP and a $25 donation.
Community Corner, presented by First Fed.
Come out to Olympic Game Farm. It's the home of the waving bears. Come out to Olympic Game Farm for some tender love and care. Now it's not impolite to stick out your tongue, considering the critters you'll be among. Come out to Olympic Game Farm. It's the home of the waving bears. The llama and the yak know you want to come back, and the tiger always gets a few stares. Come out to Olympic Game Farm. It's the home of the waving bears.
Here's your News Radio KONP forecast, brought to you by All Weather Heating and Cooling. Ample sunshine expected this afternoon, with daytime highs approaching 53. Northerly winds around 5 miles per hour. Mainly clear skies tonight, lows level off around 39. Daytime highs approaching 55 tomorrow. Sunshine mixed with clouds at times. High temperatures reach up to 59 Saturday under overcast skies. 55 Sunday, rain likely. Taking a look at the extended forecast, 53 Monday, 53 Tuesday, and 54 on Wednesday. That's a look at your forecast. I'm meteorologist Paul Trombley. Currently, it's 50 degrees.
One step closer and walking off. Good morning, I'm Jay Reynolds. Alex Ovechkin scores again last night. It comes in Washington's loss to Carolina, but Ovechkin now has 892 goals. He needs 2 to tie, 3 to pass Wayne Gretzky. At his current pace, he'll need 5 games. That'll put the record breaker a week and a half from now. Caps' next game is tomorrow at home against Chicago. Baseball, 2 teams remain unbeaten on the season. One is the Padres, who go to 7-0 with a win over Cleveland yesterday. Then there's the Dodgers, who trailed Atlanta 5-0 yesterday, but rallied back, tied in the 8th, and then in the 9th.
Shohei Ohtani on his bobblehead night. First pitch swinging, high drive, left center field, at the wall. Oh my goodness! Shohei Ohtani, a sayonara swing. He's headed home, and once again, the Dodgers walk off winners.
AM 570 LA Sports. Dodgers, first World Series champs to start 8-0. Braves fall to 0-7. They're the only team without a win. Yankees get a 19th home run. They lose to the Diamondbacks, though, 4-3. Zach Gallen, 13 strikeouts in 6 2/3 innings. Brewers use a squeeze play in the bottom of the 11th to beat the Royals 3-2. Mariners edge the Tigers 3-2. Twins get past the White Sox 6-1. Red Sox shut out Baltimore 3-0. Both of Boston's wins have come in starts from Garrett Crochet. NBA, the Thunder run the win streak to 11. They beat the Pistons 119-103, their 64th win overall. Cleveland gets number 61. They beat the Knicks by 19. Celtics fall to Miami 124-103, largest home loss in 4 years for Boston. Pacers by 14 over the Hornets. Mavs get 34 from Anthony Davis in a 2-point win over Atlanta. Houston joins the postseason dance party. They beat Utah and clinch a playoff berth.
And a couple of games you heard yesterday here on KONP. Joey Decord stopped 25 shots for his second shutout of the season. Seattle Kraken cruised to a 5-0 win over the Vancouver Canucks last night.
Here's the pitch, swinging a fly ball deep into the gap in left center field. Kreidler going back to the one-inch track to the wall, leaps up and he drops the ball. He had it, lost it. Moore will score. JP rounding third, waved in. He will score. The throw-in is cut off, and at second, Victor Robles with a double.
Victor Robles delivering that 2-run double. Dylan Moore homered as well as the Seattle Mariners held off the Detroit Tigers 3-2 yesterday afternoon, avoiding a sweep. Luis Castillo pitched 7 innings, allowing 2 runs on 5 hits with 5 strikeouts. Andres Munoz earned his 3rd save after escaping a bases-loaded jam in the 9th inning. Seattle opens a 3-game series in San Francisco on Friday.
Look what we have here. It's the refreshing deliciousness of a Pepsi mini can. It's the perfect complement to any meal. The dash of indulgence your day was dreaming of. The sip that'll have you singing Pepsi.
Nope, not again, Steve. Let's take a cue from the Pepsi mini can and pack all that awesomeness you're feeling into a much smaller treat for everyone. Deal?
So, big awesomeness, smaller size. I think I've got just the thing.
Pepsi mini can. Mini can, big taste.
Stop by Poway Treasure Trap. We're located in the front of Easy Pond in downtown Port Angeles. We have a fun selection of gifts to choose from. Everything from our best-selling leather journals to anime figures and fun pop culture gifts. We also have hard-to-find collectible swords for fantastic displays. And you've got to check out our adult humor section in our front mezzanine that's full of not safe for work gag gifts guaranteed to spark laughter. Easy Pond in downtown Port Angeles.
Newsradio KONP Business.
This is a Bloomberg Money Minute. Stocks are tumbling over the Trump administration's latest trade moves. Markets are down between 3% and 5%. President Trump was asked today about the market reaction. He says it's going very well. He says the rest of the world wants to know if they can make a deal. Some of the hardest hit stocks today are for those companies who depend on overseas production. Apple shares are down 9%, Dell shares down 17%, HP shares down about 13%. The tariffs are expected to force companies to raise prices, especially apparel and footwear companies.
Many of those companies shifted manufacturing away from China during Trump's first term and moved it to countries like Vietnam, Cambodia, Indonesia, and Thailand. This time, Vietnam alone is seeing a tariff of 46%, which will be painful for companies like Nike, Adidas, and Lululemon. I'm Nancy Lyons, Bloomberg Radio.
Right now is your chance to sit back and save, literally. At Angelus Furniture, you can save $500 on one of our most popular recliner designs, the Stressless Wing, in all Paloma leather colors. You can also enjoy savings on Stressless Oslo, Stressless Fiona, and Stressless Flora sofa collections in select leathers. Luxurious and elegant, these stressless stationary sofas complement the Stressless Wing completely. Visit the Stressless experts at Angelus Furniture today and find the perfect stressless piece for you.
At McCrory Carpet One, they know how important it is to feel confident in your flooring selection. You want to know it's going to look exactly the way you want it once it's installed in your home. That's why they offer their one-of-a-kind guarantee, making sure you're 100% happy that the floor you've created together is as beautiful as the one in your dreams. If not, they'll replace it for free. That's what they call the beautiful guarantee. Peace of mind is yours with every installation. Always priced right, always done right. McCrory Carpet One.
News Radio KONP, traffic and roads.
Up to Clallam Transit Dispatch Center we go now. That is where Steve's standing by with a check of the roads for us. Good afternoon, Steve.
Hi there. Hey, good afternoon, everybody. Looks like everybody is out and about today. Port Angeles area, downtown, lots of traffic right now. Pretty steady all the way through town, across 8, pretty much everywhere you want to go. A little bit slow going in places, but you'll be fine. Just a little patience as you make your way through town. Squim is a similar situation. Really busy along Washington Street, Squim Avenue, 5th Avenue, those areas, so just be aware of that. If you're on the highway between the two cities, a lot of traffic out there as well, but it is moving along pretty smoothly, right at the speed limit between the two towns. If you're headed out beyond that, Hood Canal Bridge, good to go. No scheduled marine opening so far this afternoon. Washington State ferries also are running on time today. If you're headed out to the west end, 101's in good shape all the way out to the Forks area. Should be a really nice drive for you. Just light to moderate traffic out there, moving right along at the speed limit. So everybody take some time, enjoy this beautiful afternoon. This is Steve reporting live from Clallam Transit for KONP.
All right, thanks, Steve. We'll get another update from you in about a half hour as we continue on the noon news hour here on KONP for this Thursday, April 3rd. Well, this story will either break your heart or make you drive to the nearest thrift store, try on all the jackets, and look in the pockets. Here's ABC's Sherry Preston.
76-year-old Mildred Simone Relito says there's not much she can do except cry out loud. She bought a lottery ticket last May at the Shop and Save in Murraysville, Pennsylvania, and put it in her pocket.
I remember saying, if I put it here, I won't forget it.
2 weeks later, when she saw the numbers,
I realized that it won. It hit.
Only by the time she realized it, she had donated the coat the ticket was in to Vietnam Veterans of America. She's gone back to Shop and Save. They confirm she's got to have the physical ticket to win her $2.5 million prize. Sherry Preston, ABC News.
May 8th is the deadline for that ticket, by the way. Well, another twist in the TikTok saga. Amazon, the latest company to throw its hat in the ring to buy the Chinese-owned app before an April 5th deadline. Chuck Palm has more with today's Tech Report.
Barely making it in under the wire, a few more suitors are courting the ByteDance-owned TikTok application before the axe is dropped on April 5th. Another consortium led by Tim Stokely, founder of the OnlyFans site, has partnered with a cryptocurrency foundation to submit a late-stage plan to bid for TikTok as well. A Trump administration official also confirmed that Amazon had sent a letter to Vice President J.D. Vance and the Department of Commerce, but as of yet had declined to comment. Amazon has toyed with purchasing social media platforms for years and eventually bought Inspire, which was also a TikTok-like short video form, but shut that unit down earlier this year. And just for good measure, venture capital firm Andreessen Horowitz, led by Oracle, has also thrown in a bid to acquire the Chinese-owned TikTok. Find me at chuckpalm.com.
And it's certainly not the first time director Quentin Tarantino has gone once in a lifetime. Kevin Carr explains.
At CinemaCon this week, an April 1st announcement had people looking for a punchline.
Quentin Tarantino's award-winning film Once Upon a Time in Hollywood is getting a sequel, but it's going to have some changes.
That's your son? No, it's my stunt double, Cliff Booth.
Brad Pitt will return as stuntman Cliff Booth, a role Tarantino was inspired to write by real-life figures in Hollywood, he told the California Film Institute in 2020.
See the two guys, the stunt guy and the actor, sitting there just shooting the breeze, both dressed identically. I saw the whole 9 years of their relationship.
However, Tarantino will not be directing. Instead, David Fincher will be at the helm of Tarantino's script. Tarantino spoke highly of his contemporary during an interview with Charlie Rose in 2009.
I mean, one of the most talented filmmakers of, my generation is David Fincher.
Pitt has worked with Fincher on 3 films in the past, including Seven.
You like what you do for a living? These things you see?
The Curious Case of Benjamin Button.
While everybody else was aging, I was getting younger.
And Fight Club.
The first rule of Fight Club is you do not talk about Fight Club. The second rule of Fight Club is you do not talk about Fight Club.
The other twist in this story is it will be made for Netflix on a reported $200 million budget. Netflix also distributed Fincher's Mank and The Killer. Fincher has famously leaned into digital filmmaking, while Tarantino is known for exclusively shooting on film and demanding theatrical exhibition. So there are still some details left to be hammered out.
A Better Life with Dr. Sanjay Gupta.
At the very end of last year, the U.S. Dietary Advisory Committee released guidance aimed at informing the next update for federal nutrition advice. And the headline, as my colleague Sandy Lamott put it, "A lowly vegetable rises to stardom." She was writing about beans and their legume cousins, peas and lentils. Now why? The committee found that when one animal source of saturated fat was swapped for another animal source with less saturated fat, such as lean meat, there was actually little benefit to health. That's because meat doesn't have fiber. Beans and legumes do. All the members of the legume family are full of nutrients, including copper, iron, magnesium, potassium, folic acid, zinc, and the essential amino acid lysine. There's also lots of protein and fiber. Shop for a variety of these superfoods. I'm Dr. Sanjay Gupta, helping you live a better life.
Millions of Americans take medicine like Ozempic and Zepbound. Many of them are overpaying by thousands of dollars a year. These GLP-1 medications for diabetes, weight loss, and more may not always be covered by your insurance, but GoodRx can help. GoodRx helps you save every month on prescriptions at over 70,000 pharmacies nationwide. Best of all, it's free to use. Check GoodRx to save on GLP-1s. Just go to GoodRx.com/GLP. That's GoodRx.com/GLP. GoodRx is not insurance, but can be used instead of insurance, including Medicare and other federal and state-funded programs.
Are you a parent of a 2 to 8-year-old? Listen closely for an exciting offer, then head to abcmouse.com/radio to learn more. By now, you've probably heard of ABC Mouse.
ABC Mouse is like a little one-on-one teacher. It has helped her so much.
We're offering a promo at abcmouse.com/radio to try it for free for a month, then $14.99 per month until canceled. Go to abcmouse.com/radio to see this offer. That's abcmouse.com/radio. Actual ABC Mouse users compensated for their testimonials, sponsored by Age of Learning.
Hello, I'm Jerry Stewart, and this is One Moment in America. When people look at you, what do they see? What impression do you give? I'll tell you about one man's reputation after this important message.
Hello, I'm Jerry Stewart. Kelly and I are especially excited about this offer we're bringing to you today. As you know, we all have obstacles in our lives, either for ourselves, our family, our community, our nation. Each of these obstacles bring troubles and challenges that must be overcome. And just what happens when troubles capture you and you can't get free? What do you do to keep trying to find your way without quitting? This CD is full of the solutions with true stories sure to show you the way. Folks, God wants you to see how you can overcome the obstacles in your life. Order this 1-hour CD, Overcoming the Obstacles of Life. Buy one, get one free for just $16.95 plus $6 shipping and handling. That's 2 CDs for you, your family, your friends. Place your order now by going to our website at www.jerrystewartusa.com or call our office at 817-995-4607 to place your order. Please call now.
In 1861, when the Civil War began, one mild-mannered professor was picked to be a general for the Confederate Army. And although he was an expert in military tactics, some secretly wondered if this kind man could lead an army into battle. but lead he did, and he would not stay behind. He would go right into the front of the battle, leading his men, even though there was great danger, and the enemy was amazed. One day, in the midst of one great battle, one opposing general remarked, "Look at him, he's standing firm like a stone wall." The man's name? Thomas Stonewall Jackson. What do people call you? Think about it. I'm Jerry Stewart, and that was One Moment in America.
At Harper Ridgeview Funeral Chapel and Squim Valley Funeral Chapel, Mark Gustafson is precisely the professional you want helping your family during a time of loss.
Every morning when I get out of bed, I have one more opportunity to help a family in need that is grieving, that may be in a cloud, may not know what to do, where to go, who to talk to. And I'm here to help them through that and to be here every day for them.
Saying goodbye to a loved one is never easy. Friendship and experience can be a real comfort.
When a loved one loses someone, it's a journey that they're going through. It's new territory, so to speak, and I'm able to be there to help them. And again, being hometown, I'm there with them all the way through it from start to finish.
Caring professionals when you need them most. Harper Ridgeview Funeral Chapel, 452-9701, and Squim Valley Funeral Chapel, 683-5242.
Hi, May Graves here, local realtor and advisor. When I go to list a home, almost every seller says the following two things to me: we're not in a hurry and we're not desperate. But the truth is, almost nobody in our community is, unless they're going through one of the following lifestyle changes. And then, regardless of the market conditions, they become desperate or in a hurry. Diamonds. Someone got married. They're merging two homes into one. Diapers. Someone had a baby and they need to get a bigger house. Diplomas. Those babies have graduated and we're ready to downsize. Divorce. Sometimes divorce happens and a court might determine that the house needs to be sold. Disaster. Whether it's health-related or natural disaster, sometimes that will force a sale. If you're in a lifestyle change and you want to talk more, call me, 360-461-1922.
Breaking news this hour from townhall.com. I'm John Scott. If President Trump's announcement of reciprocal tariffs was intended to inspire the elation of a Liberation Day, then the reaction from Wall Street's first day of trading has been quite the opposite. The Dow is down 1,440 points, the NASDAQ 920 in the red, and the S&P 500 is losing 243 points.
Investors worldwide anticipated Mr. Trump's announcement, evidenced by the fact that the benchmark S&P index had already dropped 10% from its all-time high. The markets appeared to be reacting to what one analyst has called, quote, the worst-case scenario for tariffs, unquote. One assessment by UBS projects a downside fear that the U.S. economy could fall by 2 percentage points this year and raise inflation close to 5%. George Williams reporting.
Also at townhall.com, severe storms will continue to fire through the day and may sneak south of the front. Should this happen, a notable increase in the risk of tornadoes will become apparent from northeastern Texas into Mississippi. And some of these tornadoes could be strong, EF2s to EF3s. New York City Mayor Eric Adams announced Thursday he's dropping out of the Democratic primary and running in the general election as an independent. Bernie Bennett has more.
The announcement comes one day after a Manhattan federal judge dismissed a 5-count corruption case against the incumbent with prejudice, meaning the case cannot be revived. Adams maintains he did nothing wrong and doubled down on his criticism of the bogus case. Adams had until Thursday to officially register for the Democratic mayoral primary. When asked by CBS News whether he would file his petition for the primary by the deadline, Adams teased an announcement was coming soon. The mayor previously suggested that his indictment was politically motivated because of his criticisms of the Biden administration's lenient immigration policies. Bernie Bennett reporting.
More on these stories at townhall.com.
You want to give your dogs the very best. You take them on walks and pick the best food. No matter what they're eating, you should add Dr. Phytos to every bite. Just sit back and watch them lick their bowl clean, knowing they are getting 40 carefully selected ingredients made from whole foods, spices, and fibers, from bananas to sweet potatoes. Go to drphytos.com today and subscribe to save $20 each month. Vet developed, dog trusted. This is the human-grade dog food topper that gives you peace of mind. Don't just take our word for it.
I have used it on 2 dogs, Kipper and Kodak, but I just started giving Kipper tons of the Dr. Phytos product. He actually started eating all of his food. Like, I actually had to give him more. The product has been very successful for both dogs.
Every dog deserves a topper worth barking about. Go to drphytos.com. That's drphytos.com.
The death toll from the earthquake that hit Myanmar nearly a week ago has risen to 3,145 as search and rescue teams find more bodies. Thousands were injured. Mediators from the African Union have arrived in the capital of South Sudan, where talks aimed at averting a new civil war in that already strife-torn nation.
The African Union delegation has an extremely tough job on its hands as it tries to get President Salva Kiir and his rival Riek Machar to put the country before their own desire for power. Mr. Kiir has been under huge pressure, partly because South Sudan's economy is so reliant on oil. It's exported via a pipeline which runs through neighbouring Sudan, but the civil war there has severely disrupted South Sudan's oil revenues, and this has made the country even more unstable and vulnerable to political turmoil.
The BBC's Will Ross. Breaking news and analysis at townhall.com. The murder trial of an illegal immigrant begins this week. Tasha Stevens has that report.
A jury is now seated in the trial of the illegal immigrant who is accused of killing Rachel Morin in Harford County. The panel of 10 men and 2 women, plus 6 alternates, will hear the case against Victor Martinez Hernandez in the country illegally from El Salvador. He is charged with the rape and murder of Morin, a mother of 5, in August of 2023. Opening statements in the trial will be delivered on Friday.
The U.S. Department of Energy has identified 16 federal sites, including storied nuclear research laboratories such as Los Alamos, where it could invite tech companies to build data centers in a push to accelerate commercial development of artificial intelligence technology. The move follows an executive order signed in January by outgoing President Biden that sought to remove hurdles for AI data center expansion in the U.S. More on these stories at townhall.com.
This is the Newsradio KONP Noon Report.
Tom Ortlot for the KONP News Center. Here's a look at what's happening on this Thursday afternoon, April 3rd. Port Angeles resident Mark Hodgson announcing his candidacy for the Port Angeles City Council yesterday. Hodgson will seek to replace Lindsay Schroman Warren, who will not be seeking re-election in November for his position number 3, which is one of 4 positions on the council up for election this year. Hodgson is a U.S. Navy veteran employed by the Washington State Patrol and currently serves on the boards of Habitat for Humanity and the Peninsula Dispute Resolution Center. He also has a seat on the City of Port Angeles Parks Commission and in November was elected to the Clallam County Charter Review Commission. Hodgson's a father of 2 and was raised in Port Angeles, says he's proud to have raised his children here on the Olympic Peninsula. If elected to the City Council, he lists as his priorities ensuring public safety is supported, affordable housing policies are prioritized, and economic development is at the forefront of strategic planning. A Port Angeles man in custody after speeding away from officers, tearing through the streets of Port Angeles, and finally being stopped with a pit maneuver. About 6:40 yesterday morning, a PAPD officer observed a pickup truck driving erratically on Highway 101 on the west side of town. A traffic stop was attempted, but the driver failed to yield and sped away. Police Chief Brian Smith tells KONP that on Lordson Boulevard and near Ray Street, one of his officers was able to successfully stop that suspect thanks to the benefit of some skilled training.
Near Ray Street, they had an opportunity to perform what we call a pit maneuver, where the police car's fender touches the rear fender of the suspect vehicle and it puts it into a spin. Well, that maneuver was successful and the suspect's vehicle came to a stop. He fled through the public housing project, and another officer that was responding spotted him and was able to stop him. And so that was the end of the pursuit.
After being transported to Olympic Medical Center for complaints of shortness of breath, a search warrant was obtained for a DUI blood draw. Soon after, 27-year-old Kenneth Lee Brown was booked and is being held on charges that include felony eluding of police, DUI drugs, possession of a stolen vehicle, and 2 outstanding arrest warrants, including 1 for theft. In other news, with the legislative session nearing its end, Washington state lawmakers must reconcile some major differences in the House and Senate budget proposals, especially on public school funding. The Senate's $78.5 billion plan allocates $34.3 billion, or about 44% of general funds dollars, to schools. The House's $77.8 billion proposal sets aside about $33 billion, or 43%. Both fall short of the peak funding share in 2019. A key divide, special education. The Senate proposes a $1 billion increase, while the House offers a $188 million increase. The House also seeks to boost funding for poverty poor districts, but ties it to proposed property tax cap increases that have not passed. Both budgets cut millions in grant-funded education programs and delay spending by shifting monthly school payments into the next budget cycle. And teacher pay is set to increase under both plans, as well as bonuses for national board-certified teachers remain intact despite earlier proposals to pause them. Lawmakers have to finalize the deal by April 27th. Meantime, lawmakers in the State House yesterday okayed a bipartisan transportation budget for the coming biennium. Dan Frizzell has a look.
With the legislature set to adjourn for the year in just over 3 weeks, lawmakers are in budget mode. Wednesday afternoon, the House debated and passed its proposed transportation budget, a $15 billion spending plan that focuses on upkeep of existing infrastructure, expanding and improving the ferry system, continued removal of salmon-killing stream barriers, and key projects designed to enhance safety on Washington roads and highways. Even with that price tag, Democrats and Republicans alike described the budget and the revenue required as conservative and fiscally prudent. Representative Jake Fye of Tacoma, the Democrat who chairs the transportation panel in the House, acknowledged as much on the House floor.
Across the state of Washington, people depend on a transportation system that works for them. This is a responsible budget. It is a sobering budget. This is a bit of a slowdown. Take note of what's going on in our economy. Take note of what can be done. Without considering more resources, there would not be another contract that could be issued for any transportation project of any size.
The spending plan passed out of the House with a better than 2-to-1 bipartisan margin and now heads to the Senate for final negotiations. In Olympia, Dan Frizzell.
A Washington state bill aimed at curbing social media's impact on children has failed to advance in the House despite bipartisan backing in the Senate. Senate Bill 5708, requested by the Attorney General and supported by the governor, sought to restrict addictive content feeds and also notify alerts to minors during certain hours. It passed the Senate with support from both parties, but did not get a hearing in the House Consumer Protection and Business Committee. Supporters, including the Washington Children's Alliance, called it a common-sense approach to rising youth mental health concerns, but House leaders cited constitutional and privacy concerns with it. Lawmakers say they hope to revisit the issue next session. Federal authorities arrested 37 people yesterday at Mount Baker Roofing in Bellingham, Washington, following a worksite enforcement operation led by U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement. ICE officials said those arrested had submitted fraudulent documents related to their immigration status and employment. The investigation, supported by U.S. Border Patrol and Customs and Border Protection, was focused on unlawful employment and aimed to hold employers accountable while protecting legal workforce opportunities, according to a statement released from ICE after the arrests. KONP News Times now 12:44.
The following is a paid advertisement.
This is Church Watch, brought to you by LutherCannon.com. Well, let's talk about this. Hey, there's a speed sign up ahead. Does it matter? Well, let's say it another way. It's called Whatever Makes Your Boat Float Thinking, or here's one I really like, popular in theological circles, let's just agree to disagree. Now, what in the world does that mean, and how does it solve anything? Tell that to the local officer who pulls you over for speeding. Well, officer, let's just agree to disagree, and I'll be on my way. Tell that to the store clerk that just got ripped off by a shoplifter. Well, you have your viewpoint, and I have mine. Thanks for the free stuff. Hello out there, everyone. What happens to a society when this type of thinking is left unchecked? And what happens in the church? I'll tell you what happens, and it won't cost you a dime. It disappears, as in gone, as in exit stage oblivion, because there are certain rules that govern existence, and they all fall under the heading of right and wrong, truth and error. Church, if something is true, it's true for everyone across the board. It can't change from one denomination to another, or it's meaningless. If the Bible is true, it doesn't contradict itself, so why do we? You may believe that, but I don't. That's your interpretation, not mine. Doesn't work when it comes to biblical truth. Somebody is wrong, or everyone is wrong, but it can't mean different things to different people. Holding a Bible, reading a Bible, or claiming to believe in the Bible means nothing if its meaning is relative. So let's do this. Let's just agree to agree, or quit pretending we believe in the book, because obviously it's meaningless. It's time to start doing what it says, not what we want to believe it says. And for Church Watch, this is Gordon Haddad.
The preceding was a paid advertisement.
Here's your News Radio KONP forecast, brought to you by All Weather Heating and Cooling. Ample sunshine expected this afternoon, with daytime highs approaching 53. Northerly winds around 5 miles per hour. Mainly clear skies tonight, lows level off around 39. Daytime highs approaching 55 tomorrow. Sunshine mixed with clouds at times. High temperatures reach up to 59 Saturday under overcast skies. 55 Sunday, rain likely. Taking a look at the extended forecast, 53 Monday, 53 Tuesday, and 54 on Wednesday. That's a look at your forecast. I'm meteorologist Paul Trombley. Currently, it's 50 degrees.
Mariners got 1 out of 3 against the Detroit Tigers, winning yesterday, and a nail-biter. You heard here on KONP. M's have the day off today. They're heading to San Francisco. Day baseball tomorrow. We take the air Friday afternoon at 12:30 as the Giants and Mariners go at it. Now, with a look at the rest of the sports, here's Robert Workman.
The Dodgers improved to 8-0 with a 6-5 win over the Braves last night. Shohei Ohtani capping a comeback from down 5-0 with a walk-off homer in the 9th on his bobblehead night. Because of course he did. That's the best start ever for a defending World Series champion. Padres are 7-0 after beating the Guardians. Jackson Merrill with a 2-run tater after agreeing to a 9-year contract extension worth $135 million. Red Sox shut out the Orioles behind their new ace, Garrett Crochet. He went a career-high 8 innings after getting a 6-year, $170 million extension.
Very excited, about the long term, but also really focused on the present. It was nice to kind of have a day to let it breathe, so then I could really focus up for the start.
Rangers blanked the Reds 1-0 for a second straight day. Jack Leiter in the Bics with a 3-hitter. Cardinals crushed the Angels. Ivan Herrera hit 3 homers and drove in 6. NHL, the Hurricanes blew by the Capitals 5-1 to clinch a playoff spot. But while Washington struggles down the stretch, Alex Ovechkin continues to shine. His 39th goal of the season at age 39, number 892 for his career. He's 3 away from shattering Wayne Gretzky's record. Maple Leafs are also officially in the playoffs after shading the Panthers. NBA, the Thunder stay on a roll. 11 straight wins after a 119-103 victory over the Pistons. 33 points for Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. That's right on his league-leading average. That's Thursday Sports.
Big news, Port Angeles. The Port of Port Angeles has been granted Foreign Trade Zone status, and that's a game changer for our community. But what's a free trade zone? Think of it as an economic superpower. It's like having a duty-free zone right here at the port, where businesses can import, store, manufacture goods without paying customs duties up front. That means lower costs, more efficiency, and a huge boost for local industries. What does this mean for you? More jobs, more business growth, and a stronger local economy. Manufacturers and global companies now have an even bigger reason to set up shop right here in Port Angeles. The Port of Port Angeles Foreign Trade Zone is open for business. Let's grow together. Learn more at portofpa.com. Port Angeles, where opportunity meets the open sea.
Splash into spring with an endless pool swim spa from Olympic Hot Tub. Play, swim, and exercise all year long. Save up to $9,000 and get free Bluetooth music. Ends April 13th. OlympicHotTub.com. Better you, better life.
News Radio KONP Business.
This is a Bloomberg Money Minute. It is a rough day for Wall Street. Markets are down the most since spring of 2020. We're seeing losses between 3.7 and 5.7%. Foreign leaders are pushing back on President Trump's tariff moves. Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney says they will put 25% retaliatory duties on U.S.-made vehicles. French President Emmanuel Macron is urging companies to pause U.S. investments. He's also urging the European Union to target U.S. tech and services. Germany's vice chancellor has said Trump's decision is comparable to the war of aggression against Ukraine, and Robert Habeck goes on to say that, quote, magnitude and determination of the response must be commensurate. EU trade ministers are due to meet April 7th to discuss their response. President Trump, when asked about his reaction, said he thinks it's going very well. He adds every nation is looking for a deal. He says the market and the country are going to boom. I'm Nancy Lyons, Bloomberg Radio.
Let's get a last check of the noontime traffic next, brought to you by Leeds Farm Supply and by Olympic Medical Center.
LS Tractor. Do more for less. More standard features, more capacity, and more operator comfort. LS Tractor gives you more. A comprehensive warranty and more PTO horsepower. Do more on your farm, ranch, or acreage. Mow it, grade it, till it, or move it. Stop by your local participating dealer and join the growing LS Tractor family today.
Find the perfect LS Tractor for you at Leets Farm Supply in Squim. Locally owned and operated. Call Leets at 360-452-1400.
LS Tractor. Simply more.
Every second matters. When you or your loved one shows symptoms of a stroke, seconds matter. At Olympic Medical Center, we've been recognized with acute stroke certification, which means we're prepared the moment you arrive with stroke symptoms. For immediate, expert stroke care, trust Olympic Medical Center is always acute stroke ready. Learn more at olympicmedical.org/stroke ready.
News Radio KONP, traffic and roads.
Up to Clallam Transit Dispatch Center we go now. That is where Steve's standing by with one last check of the traffic for us this noon hour on a Thursday. Good afternoon, Steve.
Hi there. Hey, good afternoon, everybody. Yeah, a little bit on the busy side out there. Both Port Angeles and Sequim. Fair amount of traffic right now trying to make their way through town. For the most part, we're doing pretty good, but there are some slowdown areas. Some of the traffic signals and intersections there coming across 8th Street where they're continuing to do some work as well. So just be aware of that and just be careful out there. If you're on the highway between the two cities, no real issues on 101. Traffic is moving at the speed limit, but it's definitely busy out there. If you're headed beyond that, Hood Canal Bridge just closed for marine traffic, so that should last a little while. Hopefully that'll be cleared up long before you get there, but just be aware that we do have some marine traffic right now. If you're headed out to the west end, no real problems. 101's in good shape all the way out to the Forks area. Light to moderate traffic should be a beautiful drive for you. So everybody take care. Enjoy your afternoon. This is Steve reporting live from Clallam Transit for KONP.
Thank you, Steve. An Alaska Airlines flight forced to return to the airport in Portland shortly after taking off. Then something started to smell bad on board. ABC's Alex Stone with the story.
The Alaska Airlines Boeing 737-800 was climbing out of Portland, heading to Las Vegas, when minutes after takeoff, the pilots of the 14-year-old plane reported a smell of fumes in the cockpit and cabin. Radioing in is heard on liveatc.net.
Pretty strong odor in the back. The flight attendants feel a little nauseous and on the verge of vomiting.
When they landed and taxied to a gate, 9 people were checked out by medics. No sign of fire was found. Alex Stone, ABC News.
Getting more expensive to raise a child in the U.S. ABC's Andrew Dimbert has details of a new study.
Turns out that the cost of raising one child now costs about $300,000 over 18 years. That's up 25% over the last 2 years, according to a new study from LendingTree. The increase is mostly due to more expensive child care, health insurance, and food.
Michigan's top court says police can't search cars solely because of a marijuana odor. The state legalized the possession of small amounts of marijuana in 2018 for those 21 and older, but it cannot be used inside a vehicle. ABC's Michelle Franzen has more.
The state Supreme Court in Michigan weighing in on marijuana searches carried out by police. Justices ruled the smell of pot smoke alone is not legally enough for law enforcement to search a vehicle without obtaining a warrant. It stems from a case involving a man whose car was searched by police in Detroit in 2020 and was facing gun charges. Justices in the 5-1 opinion threw out the gun charges, saying the search based on the odor of marijuana did not constitute probable cause. Michelle Franzen, ABC News.
Let's get a Consumer Tech Minute next from Kim Commando. And a reminder, Kim's full show about everything consumer technology comes your way Saturday mornings, 9 to noon, right here on News Radio KONP.
Another giant leap has happened to take control of the global online search away from Google. OpenAI has unveiled a new ChatGPT feature that's racking up millions of new users every hour. I'm Kim Commando for Total AV, the award-winning antivirus software. It's yours for just $19 a year at protectwithkim.com. The new ChatGPT feature has sparked a viral tidal wave of new users. With Chat's new AI image generation, with no experience in art or graphic design, you can create unique, one-of-a-kind logos and incredible images just by describing them. You can retouch photos, make yourself look younger or older, whatever you want. This groundbreaking tech is the stuff of science fiction, but it's here now. From my perspective, the thing is spellbinding. I've created images of people, graphics, art, landscapes. And for anyone who is or considering becoming a graphic artist, you need a new career. Start your day with my free newsletter. Sign up at getkim.com. I hear this a lot. Bob from Chicago wrote me, I thought I was being careful. I got an email from my bank that looked legit. It said that there was suspicious activity, so I logged in to secure my account. A minute later, my money was gone and I was locked out of my account. Wow. Even the most careful people can get caught up by these clever hackers and scammers. That's why you need solid antivirus protection that instantly blocks harmful malware threats and viruses in real time, keeping your personal data and identity safe. Total AV is the award-winning antivirus software that I use and trust, and so do 35 million other people. Now, it could have stopped this from happening. Here's what you need to do. Go to protectwithkim.com right now and get Total AV for just $19 for the first year, covering up to 5 devices, including Windows, Macs, and smartphones. That's protectwithkim.com. Now, don't wait. I want you to go right now. Your security matters. Get protected right now. Go to protectwithkim.com.
Coming up, is there an ideal exercise for our brain health? A new study says yes, and I'll tell you about this powerful brain-boosting exercise next in today's Intelligence for Your Life Minute.
This is the sale you've been waiting for. The Macy's Spring VIP sale is here. Exclusive savings on the season's most loved brands with an extra 30% off Avec Les Filles, Karl Lagerfeld, DKNY, and more. Plus, get 15% off beauty essentials from MAC, Armani Beauty, and too many others to mention. So get to the Macy's Spring VIP sale now and shop brands you love at prices you'll love even more. Savings off regular and already reduced prices. Exclusions apply.
Is there an ideal exercise for your brain health? We know from previous studies that any form of exercise has brain benefits, but when it comes to growing white matter specifically, which is the connective tissue that supports all of our brain cells, new research in the journal Neuroimage says you cannot beat taking a brisk walk. That's based on a study of older adults who were tracked for 6 months. They took tests to measure their cognitive skills. The result? After 6 months, the brisk walkers showed a dramatic increase in brain volume, particularly in their white matter. And in some cases, damaged tissue actually began to reverse course and repair itself in the regular walkers. Researchers say this is another sign that our brain remains resilient as we age and remodels itself based on our lifestyle. That's why researchers recommend going for walks as much as possible, ideally 3 times a week. I'm John Tesh with today's Intelligence for Your Life Minute.
From the writing team that brought you Happy Days and Pretty Woman, Olympic Theater Arts is proud to present Wrong Turn at Lungfish, running April 15th to May 11th. It's the story of a blind and bitter college professor and his encounter with a saucy, streetwise young woman who volunteers to read to him in the hospital. The clash of intellect and wit takes the two from animosity and fear to friendship and understanding. Both come to their relationship with questions, hers dealing with her station in life and her handsome boyfriend, and his about his past life choices. Both leave with hopeful answers, even after the boyfriend shows up. Wrong Turn at Lungfish runs April 11th through May 15th, only at Olympic Theater Arts. Tickets are available over the phone or at olympictheaterarts.org. Olympic Theater Arts, theater for your community, built by your community.
From the straight to the sound, Newsradio KONP, Port Angeles Squim, is celebrating 80 years serving our community. A Radio Pacific station.
From ABC News, I'm Michelle Franzen. Stocks deepened losses in the wake of President Trump's tariff rollout before leaving for his Florida Gulf estate. The president maintained that the tiered tariff plan will help the U.S. despite some bumps in the road.
President Trump downplayed the reaction from Wall Street to his announcement of sweeping tariffs on countries all over the world, comparing the U.S. economy to a patient after surgery.
I think it's going very well. It was an operation, like when a patient gets operated on. And it's a big thing. I said this would exactly be the way it is.
The president insisted the markets are going to, quote, boom, and so is the country, even as stocks are down sharply all day Thursday. Karen Travers, ABC News, Washington.
The U.S. slapping a 25% tariff on foreign autos today, and a 10% baseline tariff on global goods begins this week, and some countries will face reciprocal tariffs. Economies say it will increase costs for consumers on nearly all goods, including food, clothing, even beer.
At a Southern California craft brewery named Everywhere, one thing that could be changing is the cost of a brew. Founder Daniel Munoz has already received notices from suppliers that prices of their aluminum cans, kegs, and big fermentation tanks could be going up because of the tariffs.
If the cost of producing something goes up, that'll pass on to us and, eventually pass on to the consumer.
ABC's Alex Stone. Severe storms now blamed for 5 deaths across the Midwest and South. ABC's Morgan Norwood is in Tennessee.
Around Nashville, we've seen several roads closed due to flash flooding. Also, parts of Tennessee, Indiana, that's also going to be the case. Overall, more than 20 reported tornadoes from Arkansas to Illinois overnight.
On Wall Street, stocks ending on a down note. The Dow losing more than 1,600 points today. You're listening to ABC News.
If you're living with dry age-related macular degeneration or dry AMD, you may be at risk for developing geographic atrophy or GA. GA can be unpredictable and progress rapidly, leading to irreversible vision loss. Now there's something you can do to
slow it down, get it going slower.
Izervay is proven to slow GA progression.
Izervay gets GA going slower.
Izervay or avacincaptad pagel is a prescription eye injection used to treat GA. Don't take it if you have an infection or active swelling in or around your eye. Izervay can cause eye infection, retinal detachment, or increased risk of wet AMD. Izervay may temporarily increase eye pressure. Your vision may be impaired after an eye injection or exam. Don't delay. Ask your doctor about Izervay today.
Izervay gets GA going slower.
Visit Izervay.com. That's IZERVAY.com.
Following a visit to Greenland, Danish Prime Minister Mette Frederiksen spoke out against the Trump administration's plans to take over Greenland, saying the semi-autonomous nation that Denmark oversees is not for sale.
You cannot annex another country, not even with an argument about international security.
Frederiksen says she doesn't mind working with the U.S., but stresses the need to respect borders and sovereignty. President Trump continues to say the U.S. needs Greenland for strategic reasons. A day after a judge dismissed corruption charges in his federal case, New York City Mayor Eric Adams announced he'll run for re-election as an independent candidate instead of a Democrat. Adams blaming the case for his decision.
The dismissal of the bogus case against me dragged on too long, making it impossible to mount a primary campaign while these false accusations were held over me.
Earlier, Adams refused to resign when calls were made, saying that the case wouldn't interfere with his day-to-day. Kids are expensive, but the cost of raising a child rising with each generation.
Families can expect to spend at least $297,000 raising a child from birth through age 18, a 25% jump from the last 2 years, according to a new study from LendingTree. The increase due mostly to the rising cost of childcare, health insurance, and food. Costs in Hawaii and Massachusetts the highest, Mississippi and South Carolina the lowest.
ABC's Sherry Preston. Michelle Franzen, ABC News.
Looking for affordable home ownership on the peninsula? Mountain View Homes has you covered. Enjoy high-quality craftsmanship at 40% less than traditional homes. You heard me, 40% less. We offer full-service land packages from dirt to turnkey, delivering beautiful, efficient manufactured homes on your chosen site. With 3 convenient locations, including Carlsberg, we're here to serve you. Visit mtviewhomes.com today to learn more. Mountain View Homes, where affordability meets quality.
Harper Ridgeview and Squim Valley Funeral Chapel offer experience you can lean on and the compassion to ease your loss. Their job is to help families cope with loss of loved ones by removing the stress involved in planning funeral arrangements. All of the staff has a real heart for serving families and their needs in the most difficult of times. They truly realize the importance in what they're doing for the community. Squim Valley Funeral Chapel and Harper Ridgeview Funeral Chapel in Port Angeles, the caring support you'll need in your time of loss.
KONP News brought to you by RE/MAX Evergreen Real Estate. Outstanding agents, outstanding results, 457-6600. The first announcement of a city council candidate running for Port Angeles Council this fall. Port Angeles native Mark Hodgson says he's throwing his hat in the ring for council position 3. A Navy veteran and current Washington State Patrol employee, Hodgson says he'll prioritize public safety, affordable housing, and economic development. He's currently serving on multiple local boards and has secured an endorsement from the outgoing council member in that spot, Lindsay Schroman Warren. He's not running for re-election. Lawmakers in Olympia passing a bipartisan $15 billion transportation budget. The plan includes funds for ferry improvements, road safety, and salmon habitat restoration. It now heads to the Senate.
Here's your News Radio KONP forecast, brought to you by Olympic Game Farm. Daytime highs approaching 53 this afternoon. Under sunny skies, north winds around 5 miles per hour. 39 tonight. Tomorrow, high of 55. Upper 50s Saturday, turning cooler Sunday with highs in the mid-50s and scattered showers possible. Take a look at the extended forecast. 53 Monday, 53 Tuesday, and 54 on Wednesday. Once again, we should top out at 53 today, low of 39 tonight, high of 55 tomorrow. That's a look at your forecast. I'm meteorologist Paul Trombley. Right now, it's 52 degrees.
It's the Todd Ortloff Show on News Radio KONP. Now, here's Todd.
All right, welcome to the program. Going to spend the first half of the show today talking with Brian Smith. He is the chief of police for Port Angeles. It's been a while since we had Brian in, and Brian, good to have you by.
Yeah, great.
I'll
Thanks,
pull that
Todd.
thing over a little closer there.
Great to see you, and thanks for having me.
And we're going to talk a little bit about some stats and some other things as well. But I thought maybe I'll start with more of a fun thing. You were just back from this, and a local person has given a whole bunch of money to the canine programs here. And I'm going to say that programs because this is a shared opportunity through not just your department, but also a Squim Police, I understand. You just returned from a presentation.
Yeah, so it was a lot of fun. I took Mayor Dexter with me, and we had a person who passed away put in her will a very large gift to the PAPD canine program. So we became aware of that last summer. I wrote up a council memo to get authorization to accept the money in August, and that went through. The legal process took a little bit longer, but a month ago we were notified that the legal part had been completed, and we were being awarded the money. The great thing about this is that this allowed us to train the replacement canine and actually add another canine team to our program. And so what that means is that with 3 PAPD canine officers and 1 in Squim, we can be fairly certain that we'll have an on-duty canine resource. The difference between that and calling somebody out is often the time critical nature has changed, and or think about if you get woken up at 2 o'clock in the morning to go out and do something really important. That's a lot more fun when you're on duty. So we're in week 5 of that training up in Squim. They've got 400 hours apiece. Officer Fairbanks Whitney is going to be taking over that program from Sergeant Kevin Miller when he retires in June. So the family member and her attorney and some folks from WAG and our mayor were all there, and it was fun to just talk about what dogs do. They got to meet Officer Emery's dog Solo, who is as friendly and as cuddly as you can get, brand new dog, and it was just a great experience to just have the excitement and enthusiasm for our program, and also be the generosity of being financially able to take care of the costs of buying dogs, what it takes to equip them. We're in pretty good shape for a number of years going forward because of this.
So let's talk about what the dogs do, because we talk about canine this and whatever, but how important is that for you to have that valuable resource?
Well, the dogs they do a number of things. They're force multipliers by simply being a presence. So the other night in Sequim, we had a barricade suspect, right. A SWAT, crisis response team call out. Well, Officer Fairbanks and K9 Copper were also called out. So situation where a person is initially non-compliant, the visible show of force, which included the K9 team, is often a factor in simply gaining compliance. And often those kind of things don't even get counted. The dog's there. The officers say something like, okay, we're here. We don't want to send the dog in if we don't have to. Go ahead and come out and surrender to us. Well, just that alone often will resolve the situation. The dog doesn't go in. Nothing happens.
Just the presence of this dog.
The presence of the dog. The dog represents a capability to a criminal offender that's somewhat unknown to them. Like, what can the dog actually do? So just gaining compliance. I became familiar with law enforcement dogs in my previous Park Service career, because I noticed that the sister agency, the U.S. Forest Service, they deployed officers by themselves on the Angeles National Forest, next to Los Angeles. They were canine units. And so why did they do that? Well, it'd be one Forest Service officer by themselves on duty in a urban area with a lot of crime. Well, adding the dog to that meant that officer could patrol solo, could sit in their car and write reports, could go to calls by themselves, do all sorts of things because of that dog. And that was like 30 plus years ago. I remember thinking, wow, that's amazing that they have that capability. So there's that force multiplier presence. And then there's when the dog is deployed, using its nose to track, like to pick up, and Kevin and Whitney can say this much better than I can, but the skin that you deposit that's floating through the air that's unique to you, especially when you're under stress and you're producing adrenaline, tracking is a skill that really only a dog can do. A drone can track, flying through the air with a camera. Our ground tactical trackers can look at changes in dirt and vegetation and see tracks, but the dog is doing it through actually tracking that person. And that's really is a skill that can't be easily replicated. It can be added to by other tools. Kevin would explain it that when you make stew, you put a lot of ingredients in there, and then when we sit around, we can smell the stew itself, the combination. The dog will smell each ingredient in the stew. Even though they've been mixed together, the dog still can pick them all out and smell them. That capability when we're tracking somebody is really doesn't have any peer.
Right. And it's an officer safety for the human officer as well.
Absolutely.
I mean, you're able to get into places that, you may not want one of your officers to get to.
Well, it's an unknown situation. A dog can enter a building or be out in front in a situation that represents some danger, that it protects the officer. We did a building search not too far from here a while ago, and the dog went in ahead of the officers, and it's a place where we know people are probably in there, but no one's answering. Sure enough, the dog goes in, and there's a person in there.
Yeah.
Now, nothing bad happened, but the dog is able to kind of screen that. The original idea behind dogs here, I think in Port Angeles 30 years ago, was building searches and chasing people that were fleeing from us.
Right.
Those were the two reasons that the program got created.
And so let's talk about kind of the difference. I mean, you kind of have a utility canine units is kind of what you have. These aren't drug dogs. These are...
Well, they're very specific. In Washington, for us to track someone, we're tracking someone who's committed a felony that's fairly serious. For example, our dogs won't be used to search for a person that's just lost. That's a different kind of dog.
Got it. Okay.
Now, it's the same dogs smelling, but our dogs are specifically trained to do enforcement work to track in these really kind of narrow situations. 20 years ago, dogs would get cross-trained in sniffing drugs and people and tracking them. Those days are over, and you have to pick what your dog's doing and focus it narrowly on that. And so our 3 dogs will be, the 2 dogs we have now are certified and accredited as dogs that track people in high-risk felony situations. And we don't track everything. Like certain crimes, the dogs will show up and they won't track because it's not serious enough for the dog to track, because if the dog, say, gets assaulted by the person and uses force to defend itself, the situation has to rise to where that level of interaction is worth the possible risk to injury. So that's been restricted over the years as well, that our dogs only track in sort of a narrower band, but it's still valuable, and there's really nothing to replace them.
So let's just to wrap this around with this donation. I mean, this is an incredible gift because would you be able to continue in a program as you'd like had you not gotten this?
We have never purchased a dog in Port Angeles without a donation to pay for the dog. Dogs are cost-wise anywhere from $8,000 to $10,000. You have to pick the right dog. That involves traveling, like in the case of these most recent dogs, to Pennsylvania. That's a complicated process in and of itself to pick the right dog that matches the handler. And then you've got the costs associated with equipment, with the training, with equipping the police vehicle. Not, monumental costs, but they're still costs. We've been fortunate that our program, except for the base vehicle and the officer's salary, has been funded through external sources really since we started. We get some money from the Sheriff's Department. We get a regular donation every year from the, I think it's the Hurricane Ridge Kennel Club, if that's the right way to say it, the one private dog group here.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, they donate money. Then individual people regularly give us money. Yeah. And this one is a very large donation, which we're really grateful for. But to add a dog team, that's a 10-year. Once you've done it, you've got that dog and that officer team for about 10 years. So that capability will pay for itself, over that period of time. But we wouldn't have been able to do that without this, and to sustain the rest of the program with training, conferences, things that they have to do. The special equipment for the vehicle. We've got some breathing room here that's very helpful.
One last note. You mentioned that Officer Miller, how long has he been with the department?
So Sergeant Kevin Miller started with the department in 1989.
Yeah.
He was a police explorer with Kitsap County Sheriff's Department. You can do the math. 1989 till 2025. He's our longest serving officer on the sworn side. And he started the K-9 program through persistence and being Kevin and convincing everyone from the command staff at the time, the city administration, private donors, and his original dog was Arco.
Right, yeah. And that was a donation of the dog, basically.
Right. The company, Atlantic Richfield, donated Arco was the original dog. Yeah.
Right. I remember covering all of that. I have to honestly say, there was some angst about what you were going to do with this dog that was going to be donated. Didn't have a program, didn't really know what to do with it, and Kevin stepped up and kind of ran it.
Well, there's we've got some great historical pictures of him back in the day with school groups. Yeah. My daughter went to 5 Acre School, Kevin, and I'm trying to think. I think it was Bodie came both times.
Yeah.
But he's on his 3rd dog now. And the canine law enforcement community in Washington is interesting. It's probably similar in other states, but there are very tight community to interact with each other, share best practice, help each other out. Today, 2 Kitsap deputies were up at this training. They're helping with the training. Kevin has, I think, selected all their dogs, traveled all over the country. But they collaborate very well. And part of being part of this collective is that if we need a canine response here in Port Angeles and we don't have a PAPD or a SQUIM dog available, we can get Kitsap County or Bremerton or Grays Harbor or any one of our partners here, and we do the same for them.
Right. Well, congrats. And it's, I think, good for the community.
Yeah,
we're going to have well covered, I think, for the next 10 years or so, it sounds like.
Yeah.
Let's talk a little stats. You brought in a few stats, and just cursory glance here, and not surprisingly, last year, just as busy, if not busier than the year before. The trend continues around here. So, in a nutshell, give us kind of the look back at what 2024 looked like and trends.
Well, so 2024 in statistics in some of the important areas, the numbers are very close, like you pointed out, to previous numbers. What these numbers don't reflect is, say, on a specific incident, how much time was spent. Like you can't measure, like the burglaries, which is one of the numbers I look at, because that's, if you think about if you're the victim of a burglary, like the number is 108. Last year it was 91. It was 162. When I first got here, it was 300. And those are events that if you're the victim of a burglary, it doesn't really matter if the number's going up or down. That's a very impactful experience for you. So we're very happy when we see the numbers like dropping. It's still a number that we would like to see lower. It's tied to the fentanyl crisis, heroin, methamphetamine. That's what's driving that crime. The difficulty in solving these things, depending on how people do it, it's a crime that the damage is done, and then we eventually catch the person. And so that pattern repeats itself. And if you're the person who's victimized, like you come to this space on Monday morning and they've burglarized you and they defeated your devices and your alarms, and so you discover that you thought you're going to be working, but you now have this mess to clean up. Things that are on this counter are gone. You can rest assured they're going to sell them for 10 cents on the dollar or less. So I like the fact that those numbers have been consistently down, and I would like to see us make more progress. Some of our other property crime has also trended down, consistent with prior years, but trending down.
What is causing that to trend down? I mean, I think a lot of people may. Here's the thing. I think when you're a victim of a property crime, I will just stick with that. You just mentioned it. I mean, that's all there is. You see is nothing but property crime.
Well, it's your right. So like motor vehicle theft, for example. 78 in 2022. I think the number is higher in 2021. If you remember the legislation. On police pursuits, it was a statewide sort of explosion in vehicle theft because law enforcement lost the tools where we could interdict stolen vehicles, and people who stole cars knew it, and they were driving around with impunity, stealing vehicles. So our numbers now are down where we're, last year was 51. That's significantly lower. Now, if your car was stolen and that's what you rely on, that's not going to make you feel a lot better.
Right.
Now, it's back to the drug crisis. Substance use is driving these stolen vehicles, and that's an improvement from where we were. I think if our pursuit number is the same way, those numbers are down from where we were 3 years ago, when we saw people who didn't used to flee from us simply deciding, I think I'll run from the police, and they won't be able to chase me. Like, even when the law changed back essentially to where it was, many of the offenders hadn't gotten the memo, and they were still running from the police. I mean, the idea of sort of a perceptual shorthand exists with all of us, but people that make impulsive decisions, commit crime, will often have a perceptual shorthand about what's going to happen, consequences, what we're going to do that's wrong, or it's incomplete. So if you think about voluntary compliance, we all voluntarily, most of us comply with the laws to the extent we can. So a lot of these numbers reflect in like in the property crimes and some of the other crimes, people expecting to have consequences or not expecting to have consequences. The violent crimes, which are like we had 2 homicides recorded last year, what that means is a person died and it was caused by another person. So one of those was the bank robbery, where the suspects were shot and killed by officers, and the other one was a homicide that was involving a person that knew the person. The vast majority, I know I've said this before, of our violent crime is involving people that have some relationship.
They know each other.
They know each other.
Right.
Now, that doesn't make the violence any less egregious, but it changes like your perception of the community if you live here about your own safety in a good way. You can exist in Port Angeles and in around any time of the day or night, and you're very safe here. That wouldn't say the same for many of the urban spaces in like the Northwest. You know,
what is that? This is a loaded question to the top guy in law enforcement, I guess. But you know, at the state level, there's a change in law. I mean, you just illustrated one with the pursuit law that kind of went back to allowing you to actually engage where you couldn't before. What else do you think would make your job easier if the state would just kind of revisit it, perhaps? I mean,
well, the state of Washington has, again, my view is dug itself into a pretty deep hole, and it's going to take a lot to dig itself out of the hole. Being 51st every year in law enforcement officers per, say, 1,000 isn't something to brag about. That means you're under-resourced statewide, like, forever.
And is that an issue, too, though, in your recruiting? I'm thinking if I'm wanting to go somewhere to work, am I going to go to a state that's 51st? Because I would have that perception.
If you know about it, well, I can tell you the people that work in places that are adequately staffed have a different kind of work experience. I mean, the communities that have staffing that's, you know, well, I mean, we're 51st, so you could look at other environments that the staffing is much higher. So what does that mean? That means problem solving, crime prevention, community policing, things that don't happen because like officers are, a couple of years ago, I mean, I was down in San Diego at Pacific Beach, and I was out for a run, and I was watching San Diego PD carefully and slowly patrolling through a neighborhood. And I watched the officers stop, get out, talk to people, and I watched them working their way slowly through this neighborhood. They weren't going to any calls. They were simply on patrol. And those days in Washington and most places just don't exist.
You can't do that. I mean, you're not staffed to do that, really.
No, we patrol incidental to going from point A to point B with something that you have to get to, and you know that's a difference. Now, late at night, do special targeted patrols with special funding, yes, but that the difference of proactive, you know, whether it's in an identified area, like that neighborhood patrol in San Diego, that was probably an identified area, specific. Those officers were there to prevent crime on purpose. They were patrolling there, but they were patrolling. That's the value of that is, you know, it's the visibility of the officer. It's being approachable, being accessible, and not being encumbered with something else, some other place you have to be. That kind of staffing, like Washington this year, the governor had $100 million in his budget for increased law enforcement. He campaigned on it. I looked at the most recent proposed budget. It's not going to be anything like that. If anything gets added, and you can look at the Association of Washington Cities website, look at what money gets spent on. It's not us in general. Yeah. So that's in terms of what would it take. That's one's going to take like money to dig out from and actually hire and train people and have sort of a different approach to it. Other things, you know, we've got Constitution and laws that restrict a lot of what we do. Much of the constitutional stuff is just what it is, but the laws themselves get passed by legislators. Once again, this year I testified against a bill that was proposing restricting us from making traffic stops in many situations, for equipment violations, for running through a stop sign. I think that's one of the most egregious things I've seen in my entire career, that kind of legislation. I mean, I cannot believe that serious people talk about that and actually think Now, it didn't make it out of committee once again, but
it came up again.
That's round 4. It's a sponsored bill. I've talked to some of the organizations that are in favor of it. I understand what they're thinking. But things like that are a bad idea all day long, and they do nothing but empower criminal behavior. I mean, Sheriff King and I, during the restrictions on pursuit, went to talk to the realtors, and we were being a little bit, I don't know what the right word is, but we were having a little fun with them. And so I said, well, in Washington right now, if you're late for your realty appointment, just take your plates off your car, tint your windows. Don't drive like you're drunk, because we can chase you. But otherwise, if you don't stop from us, we won't be able to do anything. We won't chase you. They thought they actually laughed, but they thought, you got to be kidding me. I'm like, no, I'm not. That's exactly where we're at. So every bit of policy like that has to get kind of shut down at the doorstep, and we have to sort of unwind the thinking that kind of approach is going to make things better.
It's a tough job, but you're double handcuffed, I think, in some ways.
Well, the other part of it, you asked the question. I know that we're going to wrap up here, but like the criminal justice has to be victim centered. Like that's been lost over the last few years, and a person who gets involved and commits crime is a person who's got a situation that got him there. I totally understand that, and often you can do things to improve them, but you can't lose track of the person who simply wanted to live in peace. You can't blame them. They simply want to exist in peace, and they have to come first. And I say Washington is not there with that. Yeah. Victims, the way the system operates, don't come first.
I tend to agree.
Yeah,
it's interesting.
So that's an area of improvement that would really change a lot of things.
All right, Brian, I'm not going to wait as long to get you back on. It's always fun to talk with you. We'll get you back down here soon. We'll talk some more about stats and where things are going with PA Police, etc.
Yeah.
Things related.
Well, thanks, Todd.
Thanks for coming by. Yeah.
Appreciate it, and we'll talk to you soon.
Absolutely. That's Brian Smith. He is the chief of police here in Port Angeles. We're going to take a break and talk about SquatchCon, which is coming up in a couple of weeks here in our area, right after this.
I understand that as our world becomes more automated, receiving personalized service from a real person is more meaningful than ever. I'm Dan Shappy, and as a farmer's agent, I know a thing or two about how to help you select the insurance you want so you can
protect what matters most.
Call 360-681-0696 to learn more and chat with me, a real person and experienced farmer's agent, today.
We are farmers. Bum, ba-dum, bum, 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 bum.
Underwritten by Farmers Truck Fire Insurance Exchanges and Affiliates. Products not available in every state.
Are you in love with your pickup? This is Dale from Wilder Auto, and we Northwesterners love our trucks. They tow our boat or trailer, haul our treasures, and get us there safely in snowy weather. We've got a lineup that you'll fall in love with, too. From the Tundra, Tacoma, to the Titan or Frontier, the Honda Ridgeline, to our full lineup of Ram trucks, we have great options for you. New or used, plus the Wilder Advantage. We'd love it if you'd stop by and check us out, or 24/7 at wilderauto.com.
Hi, this is Darren Doty, owner of Doty, Fryer, and Geller Insurance. As a born and raised local, my entire family is honored to carry on the tradition of the Fryer and Geller family. It's a legacy we don't take lightly. What a privilege it is to provide the same high-level customer service you've come to expect from the Fryer and Geller family. Visit our new website, dotyfryergeller.com, and let us provide great coverage, price, and service comparison, or come see us at our Sequim or Port Angeles locations. Again, this is Darren Doty. Give me a call, 457-1145.
Hey, are you struggling to find reliable window installation? Between the high-pressure sales, long wait times, and out-of-town companies that severely overcharge, it's hard to know who to trust. That's why now is the perfect time to choose Hartnagel Glassworks. We're offering 10% off Milgard windows and doors through April. As a certified Milgard dealer, we offer energy-efficient, durable, and stylish windows designed to keep your home comfortable and looking great. And with this limited-time offer, you'll save 10%. But a great window is only as good as the installers, and that's why at Hartnagel Glassworks, our employee-owned team handles every project with precision and care. And with 100% 5-star Google rating, our customers say it best. So don't wait. This Milgard 10% off special ends April 30th. Call us today at 360-417-8388 or visit us at hbsglassworks.com for more info. And as always, we deeply appreciate you for shopping local and employee-owned.
All right, welcome back to the program. Going to talk about SquatchCon, which is coming up here really quick. In fact, a couple of weeks out. And Jess Grella joins us now, who's been very much involved with this, to the fact that you even wore a Sasquatch costume the very first time SquatchCon was being advertised, I believe, right?
No, I don't know what you mean. That was a real Sasquatch, not me inside a Sasquatch costume. Certainly not. Certainly not.
All right, just tell us a bit about SquatchCon. Is this year 4?
This is. Yeah,
okay.
This is year 4. SquatchCon is, we're fondly calling this year the weirdest event on the Olympic Peninsula. It's a fan culture event. It started as a comic and arts convention. It's definitely got a huge cosplay element, and it's really been shaped by the community and by all of the passionate fans out there in Clallam and Jefferson County. So it's just continued to grow every single year. We've got more and more programming that we're adding to the event, as well as bringing back some of the fan favorites this year.
Yeah, I was just looking. You just released this week kind of the schedule of things, and it's a lot. I mean, you have a lot lined up. Tell us, kind of give us a 30,000-foot level at least.
Sure.
View.
Yeah, we do. We have a lot going on. SquatchCon always has a curated panel and workshop series. We have 3 after-hours events. We have swaps going on. We have our vendor market. We have games and gaming tables. And I will say that Thursday is a free community preview day. So if people are interested in just kind of checking out what is going on, they can come by between 3 and 8 p.m. and check it out. And then I would also highlight, just in terms of our after hours events, because I think they're pretty special for a convention, I absolutely love our Friday night blacklight dance party, which will be at the Hub this year. If you've ever wanted to see like a 7 to 12-year-old like go clubbing, just absolutely lose their minds on the dance floor, that is the event to go to. It's an all-ages dance party. We do free blacklight face painting for kids. We give out glow sticks. It's just a really, really fun time for kids of all ages to just go weird, be fun, be silly on the dance floor.
All right, dates again. You start up on April 10th, right? Yep.
Yes, okay. Thursday, April 10th. That's the free community preview, and it runs through Sunday, April 13th.
Most of this is happening at the Vern Burton, correct?
Yes,
right.
Most of the convention is at the Vern Burton, and then our after-hours events, we've got a cosplay drink and draw Thursday night at Studio Bob. We've got the Hub party on Friday night, and then we've got the cosplay costume party on Saturday night. And for all of those after-hours events that are not at the Vern Burton, you can also pay a small donation to get in. So you don't necessarily have to have a SquatchCon ticket if you just want to come to the cosplay party.
All right, although you want people to get a ticket and go to the whole thing.
I
right?
mean, the ticket, if you purchase it online, it's only $20 for an adult for 4 full days and all the after hours. It's $12 for teens, $15 at the door, $25 at the door for adults. And for kids 12 and under, it's completely free with an adult pass. So we try to keep it pretty affordable.
Now, it's called SquatchCon, but it's not only about Sasquatch. That's just a part of it, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I would say it's really more about Port Angeles and more about the Olympic Peninsula. And when we were coming up with the event, we were trying to think of what elements of Port Angeles and the Olympic Peninsula are unique and special to us. And so we came up with SquatchCon. And so you will see a lot of Sasquatch merch there. There's, a lot of our artists will take their own approach to Sasquatch. We're also debuting a Sasquatch-themed comic book with local artist Camry Lapka. So there's definitely Sasquatch content, but it's really more about local arts.
And kind of just a fun time, I think, for anybody to just kind of cut loose a little bit and just enjoy weirdness in
Definitely.
some ways. In a non-weird way. I don't know if I'm describing that right. It's weirdness in a non-weird way.
Yeah, I think it's, it's accepting what makes you unique. It's talking about your favorite things, the things that you're passionate about, and meeting up with other people who share those interests.
And you do get folks from out of the area coming to this thing now, right?
We do.
I think the numbers have grown over the years.
Yeah, we keep getting bigger and bigger. We are getting a lot of out-of-area guests and a lot of out-of-area interests. Part of that is we're also expanding our marketing. Right now, we have billboards up and down the I-5 corridor, and I mentioned that because they're actually featuring a student artist's artwork. Our 2025 Daryl mascot was designed by a Sequim High School student,
cool.
Kai Blake. So her work is being seen by millions of people over the course of the campaign.
What a cool opportunity. That's awesome.
Yeah, it's really fun. That's part of our student vendor program. We offer free student vending space, but we also try to do additional mentorship opportunities like this, and Kai won that.
All right. Where do we get more info? Online? I know you're all over the place.
Yes. You can go online to squatchconpa.com. That's SQUATCHPA.com. Or you can follow us at SquatchConPA on Facebook and Instagram.
Right. And as I just noted, they've been splashing all sorts of stuff the last few days as you get closer.
Absolutely. So, yeah, we're really gearing up. And so we're finishing up that pre-sale and getting ready to start the actual convention.
I challenge anyone to find a $20 convention ticket for anything similar to this. The price is worth that and so much more. So I think if you can be around, get out and check it out. Jess, good to see you again. Thanks for stopping by.
Yeah, good to see you too. Thank you so much.
All right, Jess Grello there, who's been instrumental in organizing against SquatchCon 2025 and against SquatchConPA.com. Got it right. Yes.
Yes.
Okay. That's the place to go online or check them out on Facebook and get all of the info. We're going to take a break. We'll be back right after this.
I understand that as our world becomes more automated, receiving personalized service from a real person is more meaningful than ever. I'm Dan Shappy, and as a farmer's agent, I know a thing or two about how to help you select the insurance you want so you can
protect what matters most.
Call 360-681-0696 to learn more and chat with me, a real person and experienced farmer's agent, today.
We are farmers. Bum, ba-dum, bum, 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 bum.
Underwritten by Farmers Truck Fire Insurance Exchanges and Affiliates. Products not available in every state.
Hi, May Graves here, local realtor and advisor. When I go to list a home, almost every seller says the following two things to me. We're not in a hurry and we're not desperate. But the truth is, almost nobody in our community is, unless they're going through one of the following lifestyle changes. And then, regardless of the market conditions, they become desperate or in a hurry. Diamonds. Someone got married. They're merging two homes into one. Diapers. Someone had a baby and they need to get a bigger house. Diplomas. Those babies have graduated and we're ready to downsize. Divorce. Sometimes divorce happens and a court might determine that the house needs to be sold. Disaster. Whether it's health-related or natural disaster, sometimes that will force a sale. If you're in a lifestyle change and you want to talk more, call me 360-461-1922.
Olympic Game Farm is the place for you. Better than the circus or a day at the zoo. There's llamas and there's lions and a race for you. Olympic Game Farm is the place for you. Say hello to a buffalo, stick out his tongue. This place is just amazing for the old and the young. These zebras or a tiger might catch your eye. They've even got a bear who'll wave goodbye. It's so much fun, so bring your dad and your mom. Look us up at onlygamefarm.com.
Hey there, Don Reiling with Olympic Hot Tub. Play, swim, and enjoy low-impact workouts all year long in an endless pool swim spa from Olympic. During our Splash into Spring event, save up to $9,000 on Endless Pools packages and get a free gift bundle including a Bluetooth sound system valued up to $3,200. Ends April 13th. More at OlympicHotTub.com. Better you, better life.
Olympic Hot Tub.
Here's the truth. Too many are still being denied access to the futures we all deserve. That's why the National Association of Realtors is fighting to make fair housing a reality. We are 1.4 million realtors sworn to uphold a code of ethics that sets a higher standard for fairness in housing than federal law. Together, we'll hold each other accountable until the fight for fair is won. Because this ad won't end discrimination in real estate, people will. Realtors are members of the National Association of Realtors. That's who we are.
All right, welcome back to the program. It is Thursday, and when we don't have a baseball game preempting us, the last segment we dedicate to Kevin Holt, who's our business guru and our business bits segment. This is always a lot of fun because it affects so many people, whether they're in business or not, or they're just doing business with folks, or you know somebody that's in business. And today we've got kind of a potpourri that we're going to jump into, a number of things that Kevin wants to share with us. So with that said, without any further ado, Kevin, welcome. Thanks for coming by.
What is ado anyway? I've never seen. There's some ado on the lawn. Well, it was frozen this morning, I'll tell you. If April showers bring May flowers, what does April frost bring? I'm not too sure.
I'm not sure either. Yeah.
Well, today a faithful shopper at Swain stopped me and asked me about these fake corporate registration renewals we've been getting all quarter long. If you own a business or have any registration relationship with a business, you have seen these. You get emails that say, hey, click this link and update your corporate registration. I was taken aback when I got one for my business in the mail. The scammers actually went to the trouble of buying a stamp and stuffing an envelope, which tells me they're making enough money on this deal to pay those expenses.
Yeah.
And so for people who don't own a business, it might seem like, well, what's the big deal? And the big deal is business identity theft. It's also known as corporate or commercial identity theft. And anybody who responds to these fake corporate renewal listings is in real danger. One of the dead giveaways that they're after your data is that they tell you to fill out this report, but they don't ask you to pay for it. And so, because, you know, it's your first thought is like, you're going through all that trouble for a $60, $70 corporate renewal fee. No, they say right here, don't worry about the payment. We'll bill you later. Just log on and fill in your information. Well, for folks who don't do this, if you own a business, and a lot of private individuals do this too, if you work with the state of Washington online for a driver's license or a professional license, you go through Secure Access Washington, or SAW. And so these scammers present a fake SAW login, and once they capture your Secure Access of Washington logins, they can log into anything and everything that you've been using online with the state of Washington. So labor and industries account, employment security account, corporate business license, all of these things are now laid out for the scammers. Well, what are they going to do with this information? Well, you know, criminals are going to pose as corporate officers or owners or employees of this business now that they've gotten in, because what they can do once they get in is change all the information from what you put in to what they want. So they put their mailing address in there, their email address in there, and when they make those changes, you don't get an update warning because they've taken care of that. They'll transact business in your company's name, and because it's so much more complex, there's a lot more ways to do fraud, and it's a lot harder to unwind once you find it. So here's just a few examples of things that happen to people who fall for these fake registration renewals. The first, of course, is financial fraud. They get your information and they use it to open a line of credit, or they use it to get a business loan, or during the pandemic, they used it to sign you up for pandemic relief that you never got the money for.
That's right.
Yeah, several people ended up with notices from the SBA saying, hey, the first payment on your economic injury disaster loan is due this month. And they'll, what loan? Yeah, that's not a good thing to get. One that a lot of people don't realize is once you've got those IDs and you can start representing yourself as the company, you can probably change their website. And you can change the website on their information for all kinds of purposes, to redirect to another website, to collect customer data, to even fool the existing company into doing something that they shouldn't do. One of the dirtier ones is intellectual property ransom or trademark ransom. They will set up a company just like yours, but maybe in an adjoining state, and they'll claim all of your intellectual property as their own, forcing you to either sue them or in some cases pay ransom to get it back. And then there's our good friend tax fraud. They can file tax returns in your name, request tax refunds and things of that nature, and they can get tax subsidies through the federal government in your name. And then another one that happens both in this way and with dishonest employees is business spoofing, where they create a business just like yours, and then they start billing your customers and directing all of your customer payments to them. I had a client a few years ago who, during his appointment, said that he found out he had a thief working for him because over the year, this particular service provider had billed the people his employer sent him to directly while he was on the premises. Oh, yeah, here's the invoice. You can just pay right now.
Yeah.
And he wondered why his,
right here.
his service calls are up, revenue's down. What's going on? So that's an internal business identity theft, but it all causes the same damage. And typically these guys, this is why they're working this so hard early in the year, and then they scam you, and then they cash out, and they zip out, and leaving you to clean up the debt, clean up the credit, and clean up your reputation. And, in addition to the costs associated with this, there's a lot of legal ramifications, defending trademarks, copyrights. It can just be a mess. And then once it's uncovered, and this might be the highest cost, businesses have to spend all this time and resources fixing all of this problem.
All of the stuff, yeah.
Instead of running your business. And of course, smaller businesses are the most at risk. They don't always have the necessary security controls in place. They can't find it, they can't deter it, and they might not even know it's happening until it's too late. So, Kevin, you've scared us to death.
Yeah, what do I do?
What do we do? Well, here's 7 ways to protect yourself. Kevin always likes those 7 steps.
Sevens.
That's right. Check and monitor your commercial credit report that's done in Bradstreet. Just keep looking at it. Nobody likes to, but and sometimes there's a small fee, but it's worth the money. Take a look at your bills and your account statements and stay in touch with your customers to make sure something weird isn't going on. And hey, here's an idea. Log into your own website every now and then and look at your social media.
That doesn't look right.
Yeah, it's not our street address. What's going on here? Monitor your public record file with the state, the Secretary of State, the Corporations Registration, and Department of Revenue Registration. And then, keep your stuff secure, keep your business and records secure, keep your account numbers private. And while you're doing that, be really careful about sharing sensitive information over generic email like Gmail or any common web-based service. Sacrifice convenience for security, and do not hesitate to say, no, we don't do it that way. Go ahead and send us that in a letter. Check with your commercial insurance broker to see if you have any coverage or you can get some to cover yourself in case something like this happens. And my favorite, once again, networking, talk to people. Last year, we talked about an Oregon newspaper that was nearly put out of business by fraud, and that fraud was successful because no one at the paper ever spoke to their vendors in person. They did everything by email and were totally dispersonal. Dispersonal. I don't think that's a word. Maybe impersonal.
I like it, though, but that actually might be better.
The dispersonal world of social media, yeah. One conversation would have revealed the illegal activity that almost put that paper out of business. So my 5-sentence, 1-word statement, talk to people you do business with, please. Because, the business you save will be your own. So very quickly as we wrap up today, here's a food truck update. Food trucks among us. Yes, our fair city has moved ahead with plans to provide permitting for mobile cuisine and itinerant vendors commonly known as food trucks. While the common designation is food truck, both food and non-food items can be vended under these new regulations. Applications are available for both vendors and those who provide the premises for mobile vending. And you know what? All the focus is on the vendors. But I think being a host for mobile vending is a very attractive business option if you have the property, because then you don't have to deal with the public. You just collect your rent. And there's a lot of commercial property around our town that could be better used. So if you own some of that, look into this. There are some applications. They're on the city website. They are pretty easy to deal with. I brought a couple of copies, and just very briefly, the mobile vendor application is only 1 page. Now, that's a trap, like those questions in high school, those tests in high school that were only 1 question, but you've got a little space at the bottom where you fill in what you're going to do. But I think that it provides a great starting point, and maybe if you're thinking about this, take a look at the application to just help you kind of get your head around what kind of business you want to start. And then the folks that are hosting the itinerant vendor, they need to do a little bit more work because the city wants to check up on the property that they're using. And they're looking for things like drainage and natural features and driveways and traffic circulation. But again, there's some nice commercial property around here that could be a great place to site one of these.
And even if you had a plan for that property later to do it, this could be a good bridge
yes.
of your property, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. Or if you are owning some property that's vacant, and maybe you can lease this out for this summer. Mm-hmm. And then maybe the extra traffic will attract the attention you need, and a real client will come in and say, hey, I want to take this property over, man. Let's really pop in here.
I don't know, Kevin. You're thinking out of the box again. You're thinking out of the box. Because the only thing you do with a piece of property is build something on
Well,
it,
you would think so, but in this case, maybe you can do a little better. And, it might make this town a little more exciting than just those steel statues we have on the side of the road here.
I tend to agree. I've yet to run into somebody who has not been in favor of a food truck park somewhere where they could go for lunch and have like 5 or 6 choices of things
Wouldn't
that are coming
that
off
be
a
nice?
food truck. I'd love it.
And we talked a while ago about agglomeration.
Yep.
It will help all the businesses in the neighborhood, not hurt them.
Yeah. Well, you just kind of got to get over that hump, though.
That's
the
right.
problem, right? Yeah, okay. Glamping next week.
Yes. We've got a couple of high-profile glamping failures here that just happened in Washington. And then I asked the question, so what happened? Back in 2015, this was all the rage. 10 years and millions of dollars later, the idea is as tattered as a tent left out in a hurricane. All this and more next week on Business Bits.
I love it. All right. Kevin, as always, has all of his info. He has past shows. You can even look at video of Kevin if you want.
You can listen anyway. I wouldn't look.
At KevinYourBusinessCoach.com. He's the guy that knows it all. He certainly has been a business coach for a long time.
Not as longer than I probably would like to admit to. Yes, that's true.
That's okay. We love tapping into your info, though. Kevin, we'll see you next week.
Thank you.
All right. That's Kevin Holt there, our business guru for our Business Bits segment. We will take a break and check in with the news coming up next.
This is the Todd Ortloff Show on Newsradio KONP.
Your community-minded friends at First Fed bring you the Community Corner, highlighting good things happening right here in our area.
The Port Angeles High School Thespian Society presents Mean Girls the Musical. This award-winning musical took Broadway by storm and now will be presented April 11th, 12th, and 13th at the Port Angeles High School Auditorium. Tickets are $15 for adults, $10 for students and seniors. Parental guidance is recommended. And on Sunday, April 13th, Field Hall invites you to another free Jazz Sunday in the Sunset Lounge. Field Hall welcomes the Connor Forsyth Trio, featuring Sammy Watson on drums and Jonas Myers driving the bass. Pianist Connor Forsyth brings some New Orleans piano heritage to Field Hall's free Jazz Sunday, April 13th. General admission seating is first come, first served, with private premium tables available by RSVP and a $25 donation.
Community Corner, presented by First Fed.
Look what we have here. It's the refreshing deliciousness of a Pepsi mini can. It's the perfect complement to any meal. The dash of indulgence your day was dreaming of. The sip that'll have you singing Pepsi.
Nope, not again, Steve. Let's take a cue from the Pepsi mini can and pack all that awesomeness you're feeling into a much smaller treat for everyone. Deal?
So, big awesomeness, smaller size. I think I've got just the thing.
Pepsi mini can. Mini can, big taste.
Checkup on Health, presented by Olympic Medical Center.
Checkup on Health with Chris Whitting.
The average American spends nearly $1,000 a year on prescription drugs. But Dr. Edward Giardini, author of How to Save on Prescription Drugs, says smart consumers can save money fairly easily.
You always want to know what the retail price of the drug is before you use your benefit card, and shopping in general can really pay off. Local retail pharmacies' prices can be 3 or 4 times higher at one pharmacy or drugstore compared to the next, so you really need to shop around. If you expand your sphere of shopping to include mail order and online pharmacies, you can even get better prices.
The biggest money saver of all? Ask your doctor if simple changes in your diet and lifestyle could help reduce or eliminate your need for a prescription drug. With Checkup on Health, I'm Chris Whitting.
Every second matters. When you or your loved one show symptoms of a stroke, seconds matter. At Olympic Medical Center, we've been recognized with acute stroke certification, which means we're prepared the moment you arrive with stroke symptoms. For immediate, expert stroke care, trust Olympic Medical Center is always acute stroke ready. Learn more at olympicmedical.org/stroke ready.
Being a family member's caregiver can be rewarding and challenging. Besides taking an emotional and physical toll, it can also take a real financial toll. Find out if you're eligible to get paid for the care you provide at the AARP Foundation Paid for Care Hub. Developed with support from United Healthcare, this free online tool can help you search compensation programs and explore your options. Go to paidforcare.aarpfoundation.org to learn more.
Since 1945, Newsradio KONP has been your source for news and community. We are Newsradio KONP Port Angeles Squim.
From ABC News, I'm Lindsay Davis, Anchor Prime, streaming weeknights on ABC News Live. Deep losses on markets abroad and at home as the world reacts to President Trump's tariff plan. U.S. markets suffering losses not seen since the pandemic. President Trump claims the tariffs will boost manufacturing in the U.S.
The markets are going to boom, the stock is going to boom, the country is going to boom, and the rest of the world wants to see, is there any way they can make a deal? They've taken advantage of us for many, many years.
The 25% tariff on foreign autos went into effect today. Canada issued counter tariffs. A 10% baseline tariff on global goods along with reciprocal tariffs have yet to come, but they're already creating a glitch in confidence in supply chains. ABC's Britt Clennett is in Hong Kong with Asia's reaction.
Many had shifted to places like Vietnam to avoid the Chinese tariffs, and now suddenly facing 46%.